and welcome back to Sports Talk with Dad. Another amazing show for you today. Does Tom Brady have an addiction? And did baseball, unfortunately, just get exactly what they wanted? That and more on this episode, but before we get into that, as always, my name is Kyle, and I cannot call this Sports Talk with Dad without the man sitting next to me, a man who is so old his social security number is 1, my dad, Tim.
A woman with social security number 1 was a little old lady, and it should have ended with 2. Just government stealing our money and just
No old man talk. It was a funny joke.
It was a funny joke.
No old man talk. This is what I deal with. I keep him tame on this show.
Yeah. Okay. But going down another path, because I don't want to go down that path because I'll lose my mind.
Yeah, you do, but we're not going to.
May have lost it a long time ago. Are you excited to see Black Adam?
No, I'm not going to go and see it. I have no interest.
I actually am interested in it for 2 reasons. Number 1, I want to see Pierce Brosnan as Dr. Fate. I think that was brilliant casting.
I do too.
And number 2, there have been so few movies. I love superhero movies. Why should I not go?
I love superhero movies too, and I am always game on directors and writers taking their own ideas into a script, right? They reboot comic books all the time. So, and different writers bring in their own adaptations of the characters,
like
which is
Black
great.
Knight.
Right. Batman's been changed storylines how many times? But what I don't like is when you change who the character is.
Yeah, you can't change the canon.
And that's what they did with Black Adam. And it bothers me to the core.
Well,
Like Black Adam is an evil man, and they've made him not as evil as he should be.
It looks like Black Adam is almost going to be like that anti-hero. Instead, he's probably the single worst villain and the most powerful villain in all of DC Universe.
Right. He's a nasty human being, because they've changed it now where Teth Adams is given the powers by the gods and uses it for vengeance.
Kids had to get the powers.
But the problem is if he wanted to use the powers for vengeance, the idea is you have to be pure of heart. And yes, I'm going to nerd for a second. But I like DC Comics and I like Black Adam's character. But you have to be pure of heart in order to get those powers. So in reality, the gods gifted it to Teth Adams' nephew.
Yeah, it's just like Billy Batson. You give it to
Correct.
a kid. And
the uncle who shapeshifted with his nephew, because his nephew loved him dearly. He was like a father to him. The uncle, Teth Adams, wanted to use the powers for vengeance, and his nephew refused because he was pure of heart, and that's not what the powers are there for. He kept saying, no, we can use these powers to make it better. And as his nephew was transforming into Shazam at that time, right, he killed his nephew and transformed with him and became Black Adam and could never change back, not because he was imprisoned, but because he would lose the powers. They weren't his powers. And then he used them for vengeance. And then the gods sent him to the opposite side of the universe. And then it led to them finding Billy Batson. But it bothers me because now you've changed it to where Teth Adams was just granted and then used the powers wrong. That's not how it works.
And honestly, Shazam is more powerful than Superman. Because he's
Superman,
got strength, but he also has magic, and magic is one of Superman's weaknesses.
Right. I wouldn't say he's more powerful. It's just he has magic, which is a weakness of Superman.
So he wins in a fight.
Every time.
By definition, he's more powerful. I don't know. I still am interested in going to see it. The other movie I'm interested in going to see, which you probably haven't even heard of.
By the way, that's like saying Sinestro beats Green Lantern every time because Green Lantern's weakness is yellow. It's not exactly accurate.
Fine. But the other movie I want to see you haven't heard of is called To Die For.
I don't know what that is.
I know. And I'm not going to get into the plot, but everybody should go and look it up. It looks like it's by John Schneider, one of the Dukes of Hazzards. And it looks like just a really well-made, good movie. So check it out. You can see the plot line there. But
called To Die For?
To Die For. You have to put in www.todieformovie.com because otherwise there's a bunch of other movies called To Die For.
Social media. Oh, this looks stupid. I have no interest.
I know you don't. It does not look stupid. It looks very interesting. That's why I'm not going into the plot because it's my kind of a movie, not yours.
Yeah, you're a rom-com fan.
It's not a rom-com by
Eh,
any means.
you're a Hallmark movie fan, and it definitely fits
Christmas
into.
movies have started again. Makes me think of your grandma every time.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not going to be watching TV at your house for a while because I
Yeah,
don't
I
want to
know.
hear Christmas movies yet. I'm not there yet. We haven't even hit Halloween yet.
I know. And by the way, I saw a review. They compared Hocus Pocus to Hocus Pocus 2.
What's the same movie?
Essentially the same with a couple quirky differences. I mean, using Roomba's fine as a broom instead of a broom, that's fine. But
They just remade it. What was the point?
I just don't have any. Well, they updated it, made it a little more woke.
Right.
And
just leave it alone. If you want, I was really excited actually for another Hocus Pocus movie because I thought they'd go back in time.
Make it a prequel.
Make it a prequel. Because it was the only way to do it.
Right.
All you have is the three witches looking 30 years older.
Yeah, not in a
And
good
the
way.
idea is okay, you've brought them back. Well, the black flame candle was used. They stepped on hallowed ground, which means they returned to stone and then blew up. Like they can't come back. It's over. You ended it. And I don't.
I mean, the prequel.
Movies bother me.
The prequel, if they would have used the young witches and shown up to the point where they turned Max into a cat.
Could have done it great, but they're more interested in Disney Plus making a family happy movie. That's why I miss the 90s Disney. 90s Disney was the Renaissance because Disney was losing so much money. They really hadn't put out any great films in a long time. So they said, what do we have to lose? Like, just go nuts. And they just made whatever they wanted to, and it turned into great movies. And then now with Disney Plus, they basically just bank on Marvel movies and then make garbage.
And to say that Hocus Pocus 1 was not politically correct or was insensitive in any ways.
I don't know how you could say that.
I don't get it.
I mean, maybe to zombies.
What about
he lost his head a couple of times. That wasn't very nice.
He's a zombie. He's dead. But I don't know. I mean,
well, hey, I tell you what. First and foremost, I do have to apologize for my voice. I am getting over a cold, which is why we didn't have
this year.
Which is why we didn't have an episode last week. We're posting this week. I couldn't talk. I couldn't stay awake. We ended up going to the Dells, and somewhere in there, I caught a terrible cold.
Explain something to me. You tell me how old I am and blah 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 blah. I'm not sick.
Right.
You, on the other hand, are supposed to be young, healthy, working out and everything. You're sick all the time.
In the beginning of the school year. Yeah, when my son comes back with new diseases that I'm not ready for.
School's a petri dish.
Yeah, I get sick all the time. But I always get this. I always get a 24-hour flu. I mean, I just get my butt kicked.
Yeah, the 24-hour flu that's now on its fourth day.
Yeah, that's true.
Although my voice is starting to go, and if you got me sick, God help you.
I may have. It's possible. So I apologize for my voice, and I apologize for us not posting last week. But back onto the movie side of things. Let us know what you think below. Are you interested in seeing Black Adam, or are you just as mad about it as I am? And then Hocus Pocus. What a waste of time. Let us know what you think about that in the comments below. And while you're down there, don't forget to do this right here, which is like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you get to enjoy this show as much as we enjoy making it. We are going to get into Tom Brady, and does he have an addiction problem, right after this word from our sponsor. Are you feeling tired throughout the day? Are you finding it hard to wake up in the morning and really just can't wait to go to bed at night? Are you finding less energy for the activities that you used to really enjoy? Well, let me tell you, you're not alone, because this is explaining me not that long ago, and that's why I took my test with Let's Get Checked. I knew something was wrong. I didn't feel normal, and so Let's Get Checked is an easy, at-home, and discreet way to get all your levels checked. I got all my blood levels done, including hormones, because you hear about low testosterone. If you're in your 30s, get it checked, so I figured, why not? Maybe that's it. I actually found out my testosterone levels were fine and that my estradiol levels were higher than they were supposed to be. One of their nurses that they have on their staff called me, walked me through every single result that I had, and gave me the information straight through an app to bring to my primary care physician. I went to my primary care physician, got a plan, and we got it fixed. And let me tell you, I feel better than I have in a long time. Life is too short. If this is you, if I explained to you in the beginning and you were feeling exactly the way that I was, don't wait. Follow the link below. And I tell you what, use code SPORTSTALK25 to get 25% off your test results. That's right, 25%, a quarter of the price taken away just for you by using the promo code SPORTSTALK25 and following the link you see here on the screen and in the description. Life's too short, guys. Take it from me. Don't wait years to get results tested when I was able to get my results and then get it fixed within a month. Don't wait. Don't be me. Don't be silly. Don't wait at all. Follow the link below. Use SportsTalk25. Get 25% off and start feeling like you did years ago. Because let me tell you, it's worth it.
Okay. So I was watching something about about Tom Brady. And they were talking about, the fact that their backup quarterback said, if I see any quarterback in football retiring during the season, I could see it being Tom Brady. Right. Brady comes out and says...
Well, backup didn't say that. Phil Simms said that.
Chris Simms.
Chris Simms said that.
Chris Simms, I guess, said it. I thought the backup quarterback said it. Anyways, my mistake. Brady came out immediately and said, no, I'm playing. I love the game. I love my teammates, blah, blah, blah. And it made me realize something. As somebody who had an addiction, a bad one, it was over back during the opioid crisis. And I quit. I got healthy. I recovered. But it's always with you. It's always a weakness in your body. You just have to be aware of it. So Tom Brady, with him saying what he did, the fact that his wife came to him and they've been married for many, many years, I think the conversation was held last spring or whenever that, quit football and come back and spend time with the family. He said he'd do it, but then he didn't do it. Here are a couple of the classic symptoms of an addict. Has intense urges for the drug that block out any other thoughts. That qualifies. He's got to be on the field. He's got to be, that adrenaline rush is there. Over time, needing more and more of the drug to get the same effect. Definitely a case. He's always got to be on the field. Making certain that you maintain a supply. He's always going to get picked up by a team. But I think when it comes down to it, the fact that he's willing to give up everything to get the adrenaline high he gets from football is a classic example of an addict. And I'm not saying this to be mean to Tom Brady, but as somebody who did lose everything, don't give up on your family, man. It's way more important. You've got a wife that clearly loves you. I think they're clearly wearing love. Your kids want to spend time with you. You're one shot away from you. Any quarterback can have their neck broke. Who knows what happens? Remember Joe Theismann? Remember who's the quarterback for Washington that had such a bad leg break?
RG3.
No, not him.
Joe Theismann had the leg break.
Yeah, him, but he came back as
Alex Smith.
Alex Smith, thank you. You just never know when something could happen. And Tom Brady is putting football, his teammates, and more importantly, the adrenaline rush he gets from being on Sunday ahead of everything else in his life. And that concerns me because I think Tom's got all the money you could ever want. You don't throw away your family for a game or job or whatever.
Well, what does he have to prove?
At this point, nothing.
Like, he has nothing to prove. I get Alex Smith coming back, and his family understood. His wife was very understanding with it. Like, I have to prove that I can come back from this. This is a me thing. And then he walked away.
Yeah.
That was the deal. He's like, I have to prove I can come back and play football. I can't retire like this. And his wife understood, and he came back for that season, and then she looked at him and said, okay, I was along for this. Now you're done.
And with Giselle.
And Giselle said the same thing. I understand you going to Tampa. I understand you wanting to come back and repeat as a Super Bowl champion. When you told me this the other night that Tom Brady basically has an addiction, it really hit home. It's like, yeah, he really does. He really needs this. He needs to be the star, right? Because it was always Giselle and Tom, but Tom was the star
Depending
in
on
the
if you're
relationship.
the women, it's Giselle because of the fashion model
Sure,
stuff, but the
sure,
guys,
but
sure, it's
it
Tom
was
Brady.
all about Tom Brady. And I don't think he's willing to sit back and take that. I think this is something he does need. I think he felt what it was like to sit at home and he hated it.
He's
Clearly, or he wouldn't be back.
he's got to have other things in his life. He's never taken the time to develop him. Whether it's he plays golf, but he's not a good golfer at all. He's never put the time into it. I don't know what business interests he has. I'm assuming he's got several, but it's not going to give you the same kind of a high
No.
that playing football does. And every quarterback's gone through it. Favre went through it. Elway went through it. Manning went through it. But there all comes a point where, okay, there are other things more important in my life. And I'm worried about Brady because he is going down a very bad path.
Yeah, it reminds me of, when you mentioned that to me, it reminded me a lot of Junior Seau, right? Junior Seau had a hard time and really wasn't able to transition to a life outside of football, which is why he took his own life. He could not transition. He could not find something else that got him that same dopamine effect. Obviously, he had demons to fight, and he used the football field to fight those demons
Sure.
and didn't get the help he needed to fight those demons off the field. But he couldn't transition away from football. That was his life, and when it wasn't a part of it, he couldn't stand living anymore. And Tom Brady, while I don't think it's that extreme, is clearly showing signs that he can't give up football. This is too hard for him.
Well, and look, you went through my addiction with me, and I can never apologize enough or whatever. But we got past it. You recover, but it's important that when you're going through the recovery, you have a support system. The NFL's got one for him.
Right.
There are other quarterbacks that can help him say, "Look, dude, there are other things to do."
Yeah, and addictions, how many times cost you your family, cost you your marriage? And I remember being a kid when you were going through your situation. And it's tough because as a kid, right? We work through it because I'm an adult now and I can see it from an adult perspective, and it is what it is, right? All forgiven. As a kid, though, you don't have that understanding. And as a kid, you're looking at that, and I'm sure Giselle even is looking at it at this point and saying, you are choosing football over spending time with our children.
Yes,
And that's an addiction.
it is the fundamental definition. You choose the drug over family because you're always chasing, and you couch it with everything. It's like, well, no, I want to go and prove that I'm still can do it without Belichick, blah, blah, blah. I said, yeah, I'm in pain, so I'll just
Right.
pop a couple pills and I'll be fine. But when you take a step back and when you finally bottom out, and Brady's going to bottom out at some point, that's when you're slapped in the face and it's like, okay, we've got to clean up my life.
Right. And I don't think we've seen this from another quarterback. Favre waffled,
to an extent.
right? But he didn't need football by any means. He went through another addiction that he had to get over. It wasn't the fact that he needed football. It was the fact that he wanted to prove the Packers that he could still win and wanted to win another Super Bowl. He didn't want to come back for that last year. He was convinced into it and did basically retire halfway through the season. He didn't play another down after that.
Yeah.
People make fun of Aaron Rodgers for him talking about life after football, right? But that's what you're supposed to do.
That's
He's ready to
healthy.
transition. He can walk away at any time. He knows it's a game, and he can walk away any time and can move on to the next step of his life. Alex Smith had stuff in place. It is what it is. He doesn't. I don't think Tom Brady could stand sitting at home and not being the topic of conversation on every single sporting network.
Well,
Because that's what he's been.
The two people you talked about, Alex Smith and Aaron Rodgers specifically, they talk about their other passions. Rodgers has music and whatever. He says, I love football. He doesn't deny that. He doesn't need football.
Right. He's competitive. He loves it. He wants to be on the field, and he proves it every single Sunday. But it's definitely not a need. He looks at it as a job, and I need to perform high at my job. Tom Brady doesn't. Tom Brady looks at it as life, and I think it's everything outside of football and being a star that he has been, being the greatest of all time. I think you're right. I think he does need that. And Giselle's saying, listen, you got a problem. We talked about this. And I mean, you to the point where like you're willing to sit out of practice on Tuesdays and Wednesdays to watch the kids just because you're ready to go and play football.
You take off part of training camp to go and spend with the kids. He was doing all the quick fixes every addict does
Right.
to think, oh, I can handle this.
Yeah. Okay. I'll take these days off, but I still need to make sure I'm there on Sunday.
Right. And it's just,
And it's
it,
not like you look at Favre. Favre just didn't want to play in training camp. He didn't want to
no.
practice.
And he was open about that. He goes, no. And
Right.
Rodgers is as well. He doesn't show up for OTAs,
Right.
but it's just, you can walk away and you can be healthy and there's a lot of life left to live at 45 years old. It'd be a shame if
Right.
he becomes that old man that almost turtles.
Well, it's not something that your family can buy into anymore. It's not something they can agree with you on. Going back to the Alex Smith situation again, Alex Smith had something to prove to himself. He said, I need to recover from this and I need to get back on the field because I need to prove this to myself. And his wife, knowing him and obviously loving him the way that she does, said, I get it. I'll be there to support you. I'm going to be terrified watching you on the
Sure.
field. And I remember watching her in the stands. Her eyes were closed half the time, which I don't blame her. I mean, it's a scary situation. He almost died. And, but he had to do it to prove it to himself. He's going to finish out the season. And he did. And then
he walked away.
Okay, it's time to walk away. You did it.
It was the same as Peyton Manning when he had his neck issue and when he left Indianapolis. So, look, I have to prove this. He was a shadow of what he was in his heyday of his career.
The
But
Super Bowl year, he didn't play half the season.
Correct. But he came back. He won it. He couldn't throw the ball more than 20 yards, but he won it and he found a way to win. And then he walked away because he had other things in his life. And I'm really worried about Brady because this is not going to end well.
He doesn't have anything else outside. Like the Manning family has done a really good job of really just becoming sports at this point, especially with Monday Night Football. Their Monday Night Football cast is better than ESPN's vote with. I actually like Troy and Buck on Monday Night Football. Joe
has gotten really a lot better.
Yes,
he used to be. His hatred of the Packers it was tough to listen to.
He used to focus on one thing now. I think that was a big thing with Joe Buck as well, is that he was doing football and baseball, and he was thrown 800 different directions. Now he's just at ESPN and gets to focus on one game, and that definitely helps, and I think it's helped Troy as well. But going back to the Brady situation, he clearly doesn't have a next step in his life. And I think you're right, and I feel bad for the kids because, again, going through something like that when I was a kid, you don't understand.
No, you don't. You just want your dad, and you want him healthy.
Right.
You want to be there with you.
And there's nothing you can do to explain it to a kid. The kid's not mature enough to understand that. And they're just going to see it from kid eyes. And Brady needs to understand that and needs to be able to say, you know what? These kids didn't choose to be here. I chose to have these kids, and I need to make sure I'm there for them. Not that he's doing anything wrong. Again, not that he's...
No, he's a good
I don't mean it that way, but all of us as fathers need to look at it from that perspective. I definitely had to when I decided to stop drinking because I wasn't there for my kids a lot because it was more about the alcohol than it was about being there for the kids. And when I realized that, I had to stop. I just quit cold turkey right there and said, this is affecting my life with my children, and I need to walk away. And that's where Brady needs to be now.
You learned well, my son.
Hey, that's one thing, we've talked about on the show before, but you going through your stuff and then being there with me while I was going through mine and really calling me out saying, you need help. And I did. I went and found help. I went and talked to people that I needed to. And that's where Brady needs to be because you need to talk to people about getting that next step. This is an addiction for him, and it's clear.
The problem is right now, Brady isn't going to listen to anybody. I didn't listen to my parents. He's not listening to his parents. He's just tunneled on, no, I have to play. I've got to have my teammates. I've got to feel this rush on Sundays.
Right.
And I want people to put in the comments, if you disagree with us, please tell us why. I mean, I like Tom Brady. He's one of the greatest of all time. I'm not going to say anybody is the greatest because there's another great one coming down the road. But for right now, Brady's done it all.
Yes.
But
nobody's going to touch his records.
No.
He has nothing to prove. He's won Super Bowls in the AFC and the NFC. He's won Super Bowls with two different teams. He's won a Super Bowl. He was the first one to win a Super Bowl in overtime. He was the first one to win a Super Bowl on his home field.
But none of that, not one single thing you mentioned is more important than your time with your kids.
No, it's not. And it's time to walk away. And I have to side with Giselle on this one. I think that she clearly loves him, because for her to
Absolutely.
walk away from the relationship for the betterment of him, and say, I can't sit here and watch this anymore. Like, I can't sit here and be a part of this anymore. I think that shows more love than anything else. Like, this is what you're gonna lose if you continue with this. Because again, it is an addiction, and as much as I love Tom Brady and I love seeing him on the field and I love seeing him play, this year it hit home, I think, for both of us,
Yeah.
because we've both had our issues with different things, and been a part of this where our families looked at us and said enough is enough, and
And
people react differently.
it just hit me when I heard the comment about the retirement. And then I just was like, oh my God. It was really one of the little light bulb over the head moments. Um, but we've discussed that enough.
Yeah, so let us know what you think in the comments below, and while you're down there, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you get to enjoy this show as much as we enjoy making it. I do want to get into baseball. Now, I don't want to get into it a whole, because you and I have discussed this. We are going to have a huge baseball episode next week where we're really going to get into the ins and outs of everything. But unfortunately, baseball just got exactly what they wanted.
Yeah, they got a bunch of teams that with not great records, throw everybody into a playoffs. The regular season means nothing.
Right. Well, and proven by the fact that the Phillies got hot at the end. They were the last team in, got in by the skin of their teeth, really had no business being in the playoffs, and are now at this point up 3-1, and probably will end up going to the World Series and maybe even be World Series champions. And I love it because I'm a huge Kyle Schwarber fan. Obviously, he came up with the Cubs, was part of the 2016 team. But it bugs me because the Phillies should have never been in there, and you've just proven that you have 162 games that nobody needs to watch.
Correct.
Because they don't matter.
Baseball has, I know I sound like a broken record, but damn it, it's the truth. Baseball was always about winning. You had to win to get in. And they have just flushed all of that down, that history down the toilet. And as you said, we're going to get into this because I think the plan that we came up with is going to be highlighted so dramatically that
it is. It bugs me because they're trying to be like every other sport. You're trying to mimic basketball. You're trying to mimic football because those are becoming more popular sports at this time. You're not those sports.
No.
Basketball, the regular season doesn't matter, but people watch the regular season because they want to see the stars. It's more about the name on the back than it is on the front.
They're fun.
You're going to watch because you want to see Giannis do something amazing like he did the other night with 44 points. You want to see Kawhi Leonard come off the bench in the fourth quarter and win the game. You want to see Steph Curry hit a three-pointer from half court just for no reason at all.
But it's all about the individual performance.
It is. It's about watching for individual performances. Football, people watch regular season because it's once a week. People watch regular season because of fantasy, and you have fantasy football going on. You may not like it. I play it. I hate it, but I play it because I love it at the same time. But that's why people watch the games, right? The regular season has become important through that. So they have other things. Baseball is not that. Fantasy baseball, I'm sorry, sucks. I've played it once, and it was way too much work. I couldn't do it. You're not that. Baseball was special because it was the one sport where you have to win to get in, and every game matters. From April to September. Every regular season game matters because if you lose a game in April that you should have won, you could end up not being in the playoffs because you're not going to win your division. And it's not that anymore. And I think the wild card was a mistake from the word go in baseball. And I think we need to revamp this. And again, next week, we are going to get into this more in detail. But it bothers to me, to my core, because baseball isn't willing to be itself and put its own product on the field.
It's because baseball is being so badly mismanaged right now. It's just all about the money. It's nobody's a caretaker of the game, and you can be both. You can walk and chew gum at the same time.
You have owners that don't care about the sport. You have players that no longer care about the sport.
It's a paycheck.
It's a paycheck. It's all about analytics now.
Ugh.
So it's not about going out and playing baseball, which is why the players don't care, because you're not just allowing them to go out and play. It's all about what's your numbers looking like. Who cares?
Right.
Go out and play hard.
It's almost taking a sales approach to baseball and going, "Oh, you're not hitting your numbers right now," instead of knowing
It's a good way to
if
look at
he's
it.
in a 19-game slump, he may hit 2 home runs in the next game, and you go with your gut. And that's happened over the years. I mean, I remember the year the Dodgers and the Giants were in a fight. Both teams were either at 100 wins or just above it or just below it, and only one team got in, and that
Yeah.
was fabulous.
The Giants win the pennant.
No, it was later than that. It was in the 80s.
Yeah, but you were around for that one
Yeah.
too.
I was not.
It's true. It's look at the 1969 Cubs, right?
Do we have to?
In August or in September, actually, what they had a 12-game lead.
9 in September, 12 in August.
That's what it was. 9-game lead in September, and they didn't make it into the playoffs.
Shot
Every single game mattered. Now, the Cubs would just be a wild card team.
should have shot that goddamn cat.
Yeah, I'm with you.
You're right, though. I mean,
But
they would have been
every game mattered. It's what makes it interesting. It's why we hold on to it today, not because of the amazing losing streak, but because they cost themselves the playoffs and a World Series title with a great team. One of the best teams to ever be on a field. And that loss also cost Ron Santo being a first ballot Hall of Famer.
You just took the words right out of my mouth. If Ron Santo gets into those playoffs, and it would have been possibly Santo versus Robinson, you would have seen two incredible third basemen.
The greatest third baseman of
the
the
1960s.
1960s.
Yes. Hands down. Not even close. Brooks Robinson isn't even in the conversation.
Right. And now that the Phillies are going to most likely go to the World Series, you're just proving to your broader audience, don't watch these games. Don't watch any of them. None of them matter.
Well, as you said, we're going to talk about it next week, but I've been doing the same fuming. I haven't had a chance to talk to you about it until just now. But you're exactly right. I mean, baseball has got, and you know what? If they made the changes we suggest, it would be better for the game, and the games would be more exciting for fans around the country. It becomes a national sport again. But
just be yourself. Be the sport that you're supposed to be. Don't try and Rob Manfred's so busy looking over his shoulder at all these other sports and trying to get it in there. And again, it's a commissioner that doesn't understand the sport. It's owners that don't care about the sport.
It's managers,
it's players that really don't care about the sport anymore.
And managers that just run by the numbers.
And managers are just run by the numbers. This isn't, you've ruined baseball. And it makes me sad. And again, I know I kept going on this because it's bothered me so much.
Ball has got to go, though. I'm sorry. It's just money ball, Billy ball, whatever you want to call it.
It's the worst thing that's ever happened to baseball.
It is.
It's the worst thing that ever happened to baseball. It needs to go away.
And I'll give you.
And again, we're going to have a big show about this early next week.
You know why it needs to go away? I don't know what WAR is. I don't know what like OPS, all the different little statistics. It used to be hits, home runs, RBI. And for the pitchers, it was your wins, your losses, your strikeouts,
and your
walk, and your ERA. Simple to understand. Fans got into it. They've made it too complicated all of a sudden with all this other crap.
You know what WAR is good for?
Nothing.
Absolutely nothing. Sing it again. Another big.
Good. Well
you.
done.
I appreciate it. Another big thing happened, which is the Panthers are apparently going through a fire sale. They have traded Christian McCaffrey to the San Francisco 49ers. Interesting trade. It didn't take him first round picks at all. They got 4 picks.
Yep.
None of them first rounders.
I don't think it was deserving of first rounders. My question remains, where is Green Bay in all this? I mean, yeah, I'm being a little bit of a homer, but my God, they've got to do something.
They're in talks. From everything I'm hearing, they're in talks with 3 different receivers. They're in talks with the Panthers right now about getting more from the Panthers. They are, which would be awesome because he's not my fantasy team, and then his numbers would go up. They're in talks with the New Orleans Saints about getting Jarvis Landry.
That'd be good.
Well, especially since he and Odell Beckham Jr. were teammates in LSU, and it may entice Odell Beckham to come to Green Bay at that point. And they're also talking to, what was the other receiver I saw? Jerry Jeudy from the Broncos. Apparently they have called on him as well.
Well, the Broncos are probably going to have a fire sale pretty soon. If there's a coach that has to be fired mid-season and a first-year coach, it'll be Nathaniel Hackett. Was never the ownership's guy, but that team should be so much better than it is.
Yeah, and we've talked. I don't know whose fault it is. I think the issue is we're seeing Russell Wilson being the person that he is, and it makes me really happy that the trade that almost happened didn't
Yeah,
happen.
you and me both.
If you ever want to appreciate Aaron, can you imagine Aaron Rodgers on the Broncos with
Oh my
Nathaniel
God.
Hackett? I don't think they would have lost a game.
I don't think so either. I think they light it up, and I think I respect Rodgers for wanting to retire a Packer because he
Yeah.
he did that specifically. And I think again Bart Starr had a lot to do with that because Bart really coached him up on the
Well,
historic
and I think
history of the
Brett Favre
Packers.
did too,
I do
saying, I
too.
regret going to the Vikings. I wish I would have stayed in Green Bay.
Yeah, but we won't get into that. But Russell Wilson in Denver should be much better. And the fact that the Seattle has been as good as they've been with Geno Smith, Pete Carroll's looking like a coaching genius.
It shows Pete Carroll knows how to run a good system.
Sure.
And I think Nathaniel Hackett, in his defense, he's very used to Aaron Rodgers really just running the show. Aaron Rodgers is very intelligent and understands football and puts in a lot of work to make sure that he is ready for Sunday. He may be pretty laid back, but don't deny that he puts in the work for
Sure.
it.
And Russell Wilson puts in the work, but it's not translating onto the field at all this year.
No, it shows showing up in pads and a jersey during training camp was nothing but a gimmick. It shows that he doesn't have the locker room at all. Like, you got studs at wide receiver, you got studs at running back, and you have an awesome defense. Like, you should be able to let Russ cook, right? He should be able to make plays happen. Now, the offensive line sucks, and he has been hurt.
Okay, fine. But Russell Wilson's never been a drop back quarterback. He's only 5'2". So he can't really do that, but he's a controlled rollout kind of quarterback.
So is that Nathaniel Hackett's fault for not making more controlled rollouts?
I think it's got to be part of it. You've got to work with it with the personnel that you have. And he's got to understand that Wilson's got to be more mobile. You've got to put him into motion. And Rodgers was like that for a while. He's turned into a much better pocket passer, but he's got smart.
He could
feet.
probably use some more controlled rollouts.
I think so too. The thing that always amazed me of guys like Rodgers and Brady and Dan Marino going back in the day is they weren't the fastest guys. Rodgers was very fast. Peyton Manning be another one. They had smart feet. They would just move a step or two in the
Right.
pocket when they felt the pressure, get away from the pressure. They didn't move probably more than 5 to 12 inches.
Right.
But that was enough.
It was enough.
Russell Wilson hasn't done that this year at all. It's been ugly. And
It has been.
hate saying that because, he's a Badger.
It's been bad. Your Badger quarterback looked better this week than Russell Wilson has looked.
For the first time, he actually looked like a 5-star recruiter, 4-star, whatever he was. He made some amazing, amazing passes.
Yeah, he's got his confidence back, which is good.
How-
Ohio State has all their confidence because
However-
they've won by another 40 points.
Shut up. However, just real quickly, I have to do this. I'm going down a bunny trail. Surprise everybody.
It's not even Easter.
I know.
It's like we're in Wonderland.
I want chocolate marshmallow eggs. So I'm
Those are good.
watching Wisconsin play yesterday. Two of the worst calls I've ever seen, and the announcers in the booth were calling them out. One was a pass interference when literally the guy lifted his arm, tight end number 82, I can't think of his name, lifted his arm, flagged him for offensive pass interference. And then at the goal line, Wisconsin stops Purdue from scoring a touchdown. The guy is over a half foot short. They give him a touchdown. It goes up to the booth. The announcer's going, well, this is going to be overturned because it's clear. Look, he stopped him right there. Call confirmed. I could not. I said bad words.
They still won. You just got to do what Ohio State does and go up by 40.
There's not a team
and then it won't make a difference.
There's not a team in the Big Ten that can do what Ohio State does. And sadly, it's turning it back into, when I was a kid, the Big 2, Little 8. I'm seeing the same thing happen again.
Well, and hey, I mean, we talked a lot, speaking of Big Ten football, we talked a lot in the beginning of the college football season about USC and UCLA needing to get themselves ready.
Sure.
And man, those two teams look ready to come to the Big Ten. UCLA just lost for the first time. They were undefeated until then. USC lost in a close one to Utah. They're looking a lot better than they did last year. And if they play like that with how bad the Big Ten has been this year, I mean, they still won't stand a chance against an Ohio State team, especially if JT Stroud comes back, which I don't think he will. But if he does, they're going to be just as dominant as they are now. And then you're also going to have a Michigan team that's looking a lot better. Now, I think Ohio State's going to show them for what they really are
Sure.
come November 26th. And I think Ohio State's, they're not going to lose 2 years in a row.
Well, and then you look at Big Ten championship, which this year I think would honestly be either UCLA, probably USC
Yeah.
versus Ohio State.
You can sell those tickets.
Those tickets are going to be sold in a big way, and I think they're going to start moving the Big Ten championship. They're definitely going to put it out in LA at one point.
I don't think they do.
Oh God, they're absolutely will they do that. I'm surprised it hasn't been announced. If you can go to what is it, AT&T or whatever the stadium's called, SoFi,
yeah,
and hold a Big Ten championship in LA at SoFi.
Just because Big Ten fans are going to travel.
Correct. And you want to give something to USC. Indianapolis is not going to be a permanent home of the championship anymore.
Probably not. I mean, you're probably right.
I mean,
but it's a big travel for a lot of those teams, and then to just put it in USC's backyard. Because that's just it. That's the biggest question about USC and UCLA. Are their fans going to travel to the Midwest? And the answer is no.
Not on a regular basis.
Not in December.
Unless they've got...
Not in November.
Right. But, I mean, let's face it. Columbus is a stone's throw from Indianapolis. It's close to home for them anyways, and fans travel. So,
yeah. I think you're right. I think it's going to happen at some point because they want that game. But you'll have to play it earlier, too, is another issue. Because that's the big point of the move, is that they're not playing any night games there. USC will never have a night game.
No, but I mean, if it's not
a home night game, I should say.
You can do a 3 o'clock start. You can do, that's not true. They can do a 7 o'clock start Central Time. That's 5 o'clock West.
Right.
It can be done.
Yeah, you'd have to do it that way. I'm just saying the sun's still going to be out.
True. Yeah. But in California, the sun's always out.
That's what they say.
So did you see going down another bunny trail?
Yeah, we've kind of been random today.
We have, but this is our lives, just so you know. Did you see the Celtics in the Bucks new uniforms?
Yes.
Like? Dislike?
So the Celtics one I love. I don't know why they call them the Bill Russell uniforms, considering Bill Russell never wore uniforms like that.
They had the gold around it.
I guess. I think they just kind of threw that in there.
I just love the script Celtics in the dark green.
I didn't realize Bill Russell has 13 championships to his name.
11 in a row with Boston.
And then he has 2 with San Francisco. 2-time NCAA championship.
He was 6'9", so a tall guy, but he was playing against like Wilt Chamberlain in the prime of his career, who was 7'2", and still dominated him. He was just so good and technically sound.
Yeah, he was an athletic freak. I mean, there's your comparison to LeBron James, probably more than anything. That's what LeBron James would have been in that era.
Probably one of the most intelligent men to ever play the game, on top of that.
I've always liked listening to Bill Russell. Yeah. I'm honestly sad he's gone because I always liked his analytics on things. He's just a down-to-earth guy. And like you said, super smart. He was fun to listen to.
And to do what he did in Boston at the time, I mean, it's like listening to Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Crazy smart, very thoughtful. I love listening to him talk about jazz. He's a huge jazz aficionado.
Yeah.
Anything he talks about, the fact that he wasn't ever given a chance to be an NBA head coach is very sad.
Yeah.
Because I think he would have.
I wish I understood jazz.
I love jazz. You aren't supposed to. You feel jazz.
Yeah. I think my feeling button's broken when it comes to jazz music.
No, I love
jazz. Gives me a headache.
I love jazz. I love old time. You know me. I love Sinatra and Harry Connick Jr.
I do too. Jazz is just all over the place. Like, just play random notes.
Yeah, it's
I get why people like it.
I mean, I'm so sorry I never had the chance to go and see Louis Armstrong in concert, or Duke Ellington, or Cab Calloway, any of those guys. Would have been so awesome to do.
Yeah, it's definitely, let me put it this way. Jazz is for people that have actual musical taste and understand music,
Thank you.
and I am not one of those people. So
Well, I'm the least musical person. I mean, you got your musical ability from me, and that is not a compliment. I couldn't hold a note in a bushel basket, as my dad used to
yeah,
say.
I've met a lot of people like yourself that like jazz, and I've just understood that I am not on that musical level with them, and I don't understand it enough to appreciate what it is.
Okay.
So clearly, you are more into music than I am.
How did we get on this? Oh, Bill Russell and then Kareem. Anyways, the Bucks new uniforms, I also love the fact that they put the horns on there.
I like the black
Yeah,
uniforms.
that's the ones I'm talking
I
about.
don't know why they're going back to purple.
I don't either. Those are the ugliest uniforms in the history of the
I mean, those are
NBA.
the '90s
They're
uniforms.
awful.
The
Keep them
Michael Red
buried.
uniforms. So
Keep
I guess a
them
little bit later than the '90s.
keep them buried with a lot of lie on top of them the
I
way
mean,
they
they're better
belong.
than the Ray Allen jerseys that had the deer on them.
They should stick with the green, red, and
Yeah,
white
there's
that
no
they've always
reason to go
had.
back to purple.
No.
We don't need to remember that those uniforms ever existed. That was a bad color scheme. You might as well have just went burnt orange at that point, honestly. At least it would have made more sense with the deer. You're a hunter. Uh,
Uh,
that's a good idea.
I mean, the
They should
logos.
do burnt orange jerseys
No,
with
they should.
camo down the side, just to honor Wisconsin.
Okay,
It would be a
for one game in
it would be an
November.
ugly uniform that
But
would never sell because it would be terrible.
but anybody who can speak Wisconsinese
But it would
would
be a
love it.
nod to the hunters of Wisconsin.
The Wisconsin people would absolutely go nuts for those
People,
uniforms.
let me put it that I shouldn't say nobody would buy it. People in Wisconsin would buy it, and people you wouldn't expect to buy jerseys
Would buy that.
would buy that jersey.
Yes.
And it would sell in the state very, very well. And I just think it would be like you want to do a city connection, do a state connection. I mean, that would be such a unique uniform. Again, I understand it would be the ugliest uniform to ever be on an NBA floor. That's not the point. It would be really cool to see. And now I want the Packers to do it. Just do a burnt orange uniform with camo on it just to honor the hunters.
Oh
It
my,
would be hideous,
it
but it
would.
would be cool.
Well, I mean, half of the stadium is in burnt orange
At
in
Lambeau they are.
December. Yeah.
Yeah.
So why wouldn't you do it? I think it'd be. And let's face it, the Bucks, Brewers, and Packers are not their city's teams. All the teams in this state belong to the state.
Yeah, I think Milwaukee's become the Bucks, I should say, have become that. They
Yes,
weren't.
they
The
weren't
Bucks
for
for a long time were Milwaukee's team, and that's really all they were. But now with the winning ways and with Giannis being there, I think and the new stadium especially,
Yeah,
they've really cemented themselves as Wisconsin's team.
they are. It'd be fun to. I don't. Is there another state that could do the same kind of a ranking that Wisconsin does?
What do you mean?
For right now, I think clearly the Packers are the number one team in the state.
Yeah,
Maybe Wisconsin football is in there. Are there other states that could actually do that kind of? Maybe Michigan.
Michigan could, Minnesota could, for sure. The Vikings are on the top right now,
Are
and
they
then
a full state team? I guess.
yeah, the Twins are definitely a full state team. The Timberwolves, I think, fall into the same category as the Bucks do,
A city
where
team.
it's very much a city team. But when Kevin Garnett was there, they were very much a state team. But they're definitely the third sport people follow.
Right. I mean, you look at St. Louis, the Cardinals. They are absolutely the biggest regional team.
They are. That's the city's team. But it has a great outreach.
I mean, that's Tennessee's team. That's Arkansas's team.
Yeah.
That's well, not so much anymore, but Iowa's team.
Right. And that's why the Rams moved. They didn't have that same outreach. It's hard to compete with the Cardinals in St. Louis. It is very much a baseball town.
It is a baseball town. They've got some of the best baseball fans. As much as I hate to say that, they've got some of the best
Right.
baseball fans in the history of the sport. I still think football should have worked in St. Louis. I just don't know why.
Well, it did work in St. Louis. They refused to build a new stadium.
Yeah.
The owner wanted a publicly funded stadium, and then he just decided to move him back to LA.
He just wrote a check for $571.
He was forced to pay the NFL back,
Right.
For that settlement, which he had to pay because the NFL paid $279 of it, I think, and then he had to pay the rest.
Yeah, they paid it to the city for the move, and
Yeah, I don't think you could ever lure another team to St. Louis, though. The NFL shouldn't expand.
No, it shouldn't. But if you look at teams that are possibly going to move at some point in the vague future, I think San Antonio would get a team before
At this point,
St. Louis.
I still think the Jaguars need to move.
Yeah, the big talk was that always they were going to move to L.A. and that didn't happen, or Vegas.
Right. I could see them moving to San Antonio or even to St. Louis. They need to go.
Yeah, there's not for Florida. Having lived there for 14 years, number one, it's a college state more than anything else.
It is, but Miami, speaking of a city team, Miami really has the Dolphins. They're really well supported.
Sure.
Tampa Bay supported when they're winning.
They're winning. If they're not, it's the worst sports town in history.
It's a hockey town.
It is. The Lightning are everything in Tampa, and I love living in Tampa, but they have the worst fans I've ever seen. They're fair weather fans to the extreme with the Bucks, and for the Rays, which is sad because the Rays are a well-run organization.
Rays need to move.
The Rays need to move
in a bad way. You know what's a really good sports town that people don't think of? Atlanta.
Yes,
Atlanta is a really good sports town.
It is. They've never been rewarded. I mean, the Braves have been great for years, but their basketball team has never really been great. Neither has their hockey team.
Hawks were just in the
they've never been
East Finals.
Yeah, but they were
years ago.
They were destroyed.
Yeah,
so,
they were there.
It's
and they won 2 NBA championships when Jordan was out of the league.
It's a decent sports town. I don't think it's one of the better sports towns.
Nah, I disagree.
You can. You're wrong, but
I've been wrong a lot on this show. But hey, I think we've had a fun show today.
Russell Wilson, get healthy. Bring the Broncos back to prominence.
Hey, well, don't forget to, while you're doing that, don't forget to do this right here, which is like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you get to enjoy this show as much as we enjoy making it. It's always the scariest part of the show for me, but it is tradition at this point. Any last words?
Yes, I'm mad at you.
Why?
So you gave me a hard time on one of the more previous shows over the last month or so.
For being a lonely old man?
Yes, not getting a date, doing whatever. I've always said I
don't care if you date or not. You've just been a lonely old man, and it's made me sad.
It's better to be happy and alone than with somebody miserable. But I listened and I went, well, maybe I should try it one more time. So I got on a couple of the dating apps.
Hey, good for you.
No. I do not want to date somebody 82 years old. I do not want to date people who think sweatshirts are a fashion statement.
Then you probably shouldn't date people in Wisconsin.
Yeah, I know. And I know I'm sounding so petty on this. Not that I'm any great shakes, because I'm not. But I've tried to stay in shape.
What kind of shape have you tried to stay in?
I don't weigh 300 pounds and sit there and guzzle beer, and it just.
That's fair.
It's been so pathetically frustrating.
I mean, you could probably fly a flag on you pretty soon with how skinny you're getting.
I'm going to change that. We're going to, I'm eating.
Are you?
Look, my body is what my body is. It's been this way forever. And, 4 back surgeries have taken its toll.
But you keep blaming the back surgeries. You keep blaming them. That is not the reason. This is going to be a longer last word because I have last words now.
No, you don't get last words. This is my last words. Well, you can talk to me about all that later.
Listen, I can't wait until January comes around because then I'm going to start really cutting weight because I've been putting on extra weight because I wanted to build some more muscle. I have a friend of mine doing a bodybuilding show, and I told him I train with him, and I hate eating.
You're going to do a bodybuilding?
I'm not. I can't get abs because of my surgery. I can never do a bodybuilding competition because I can't get abs because I have a giant scar from top to bottom.
You do.
But I told him I train with him, and so I've been putting on some extra weight, and I hate it.
You what are you now, 210?
226.
Okay, it's all muscle. So what are you worried about?
I just want to cut some weight. I'm snoring, and it's not been fun.
Well, snoring has nothing to do with that. I never snore, so I don't know how to relate
Yes, you
to
do.
that.
But the reality is I've been eating healthy. And then I watch the crap that you're eating.
I should weigh more.
Like, I'm eating 5,000 to 6,000 calories a day.
Good for you.
Healthy. You're eating 5,000 calories a day. Probably not, but you're eating your calories with candy.
Look,
and with TV dinners.
I walk into your house and it smells like tuna all the time now.
And chicken.
It drives me nuts.
Yeah, but it's healthy. I've felt
it.
better than I have in a long
Good
time.
for you.
I've been eating candy lately. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, I brought over some. I think, oh, just leave it here. I'll have some when
I like candy.
I do too.
It's my weakness. I was like, yeah, let's bulk up right now because candy's here. But you are not eating healthy.
I do too.
You do not.
All evidence
You eat
to the
TV
contrary.
dinners.
All evidence to the contrary.
What evidence?
I'm here.
Right.
You know, I'm healthy. My blood pressure is amazing. My triglycerides are perfect.
You can use big words that I don't understand to explain your health. It doesn't change the fact.
My liver is perfect.
Yeah, that's because it was dipped in the frickin' pond with Achilles. River, I don't know what it's called.
River
But
Styx, River Nile.
yeah, something like that. Sure, we'll go with it. But either way, you are not eating healthy at all.
Why did you change the subject and put this back on me?
Because you're saying, you made a comment saying, I'm in shape and blah, blah, blah. You're not in shape. You're not taking care of your back. You're not going to the gym with me.
Because I'm not going at 6 in the morning.
You don't have to go at 6 in the
I'm
morning.
going at noon.
Do anything. Just go.
Fine.
And eat healthier.
I do.
You don't. TV dinners.
You want me to make chili for you guys?
Yeah,
Okay.
you should definitely make chili.
All right, there you go.
But that's healthy. That's good stuff. You need to eat rice.
Wait a minute. My chili is really good. Really good. Probably some of the best I've ever tasted. I don't think it's really
It's healthier than a TV dinner. It's fresh ingredients.
at all times.
Like it's you take ingredients from my garden and put it in your chili, which I have a lot of, so I'd actually appreciate it because I need to get rid of them. But you need to eat more rice. You need to eat more starch, like potatoes. You need to be eating
That's
healthy
not exactly.
meats.
I love salmon. I love
You need to
almost
eat more
everything.
chicken, beef, pork,
Yeah,
fish.
that's pretty much all the meat.
Yeah, you don't eat that.
I do too.
Eating chicken from a TV dinner is not eating chicken.
It's quick. It's easy. That's what they're there for.
But that's not what it is. You need to meal prep. You can meal prep with me on Sundays. It takes a half an hour to meal prep.
Tell you what, I'll just make you chili today. I'll make your house smell like that. So anyways, I did not expect it to go. I was just going to do a funny little quick out about the struggles of dating in this area. And you took it a completely different direction.
I did, because I don't like when you go out and say, I'm in good shape.
I can't play tennis anymore. It sucks.
You can't play tennis anymore, but we can have a goal to make that happen. But we have to build up your core. You have to come to the gym, and you have to do light exercises.
Close the show.
Thank you so much for watching. We have gone on random tangents today. I appreciate you hanging out with us. Thank you again so much for watching. This has been Sports Talk with Dad.
Bye, everybody.